Alabama, the end of the year is finally upon us, and my friends, you have voted in quite a fun Attitude Era show for the ZNT Wrestling Show to look back on. Armageddon 2000, which Tomas is very much a one-match show.
Well, Merry Christmas to us.
Yep. Indeed, Merry Christmas to us. Yeah, this is honestly...
We get a bloodbath. We get to watch a bloodbath.
We get to watch actual death in front of us with an Armageddon Hell in a Cell match, which honestly, I remember having a lot of fun with as a kid. I would watch this VHS tape all the time just for that one match. But man, oh man, is this undercard underwhelming.
This pay-per-view was basically built around this one match, this one story, and this one concept that will constantly get brought up throughout the night. It's like a running narrative. You're going to have a lot of outside components. You're going to have Mr. McMahon. You're going to have Stephanie. You're going to have Mick Foley. You're going to have everything surrounded this. You're going to have this ass backwards morality thing with Mr. McMahon and Foley that I can't wait to get into. It's kind of like WWE said, we're going to build up to this Hell in a Cell match. But here's some magic. It's like when you order a boxing fight and you know there's the one fight you're ordering this pay-per-view for.
Yeah.
But they're going to give you some undercard matches just so you're not watching interviews in an empty ring for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know.
Of course, you got your prelim bouts, and then you get your big Mayweather-Pacquiao fight in the main event or whatever it is. But yes, this show was built around the six-man Hell in a Cell match, which basically consisted of the WWF's entire main event scene at that time. And yeah, to your point, Mick Foley, the commissioner at the time, was the one who sanctioned this matchup. And Vince McMahon, who was begging his wife Linda for a divorce at the time, ironically enough, is questioning the morality of having his whole main event scene inside such a demonic structure. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah, Vince was convinced. He was convinced that somebody was going to fucking die in this Hell in a Cell match just because 2 years prior you had, of course, Undertaker throwing Foley off the cage. You had the inaugural Hell in a Cell match that featured Michaels kind of just falling off the cage, but not at such great height and falling to the table. He's talked about Foley getting his career ended in the cell, all this stuff. So yeah, it's basically it's craziness. It's every single main eventer you could imagine. It's this whole storyline built around Stone Cold Steve Austin getting run over.
Yes.
Him finding out that it was Rikishi saying he did it for The Rock.
But just to
find out he was a hired assassin by Triple H to take out Austin. And of course, you got Taker in there. This is craziness. It's absolute mayhem from start to finish.
And The Rock is thrown in there. Might I mention a rookie Kurt Angle is the WWF champion going into this. I'm super excited to get into this show and much, much more. Tomas and I, the ZNT Wrestling Show, we're here talking about wrestling all the time. If you're new, smash that subscribe button. This channel is on the road to 1,000 subscribers, which I'm hoping that we can reach very, very soon, my friends. If you could help that along, that would be awesome. And make sure you smash that thumbs up button as well to get this out there to more people. Of course, I've already reviewed all the Spider-Man movies in the build-up to No Way Home, which I am seeing tomorrow night. Do not spoil it for Tomas because he is not seeing it until the 23rd. So there you go.
Yes, and don't spoil it for anyone in general because that's just a dick thing to do. I feel like this is the biggest movie since Endgame. And if you spoil it, you're an asshole.
Not going to name names, but I have heard of some people spoiling it. I have not read said spoilers, but yeah, I digress. But our opening prelim match is actually fairly interesting, Tomas. It's a 6-person intergender elimination tag team match as Team Extreme, a popular act at the end of the year 2000, the Hardy Boys and Lita going up against Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, and the light heavyweight champion Dean Malenko. I honestly forgot. I forgot about this Dean Malenko like deranged lust that he had for Lita at the time.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Also, do you remember the light heavyweight title? It was WWF's answer to the cruiserweight title. If there was one thing WCW always had WWE's number with, it was with the cruiserweight division.
Oh, yeah.
WWF saw that and said, hey, what if we did the same thing? They brought a light heavyweight title. They did bring some interesting outside talent to hold that title, but it was nowhere as near as popular as a cruiserweight title. They didn't have Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio tearing it up in 1997. They didn't have Malenko when he was at his cruiserweight prime. They didn't have Juventud and Psychosis and
Billy Kidman, like Super Crazy Tajiri. Like they wouldn't get Tajiri until later.
Shane Helms, even in
Yeah.
WCW's darkest days in 2000, 2001, they still had a very solid cruiserweight division. And if there was something WWE could never hold a candle to, probably until about 2018, it was the cruiserweight division.
Yeah.
So Malenko's light heavyweight title was just an afterthought at this point. But to get into this storyline,
I feel like he was light heavyweight champion forever going into this. Like, I remember a hidden gem match that he had with Scotty 2 Hottie, I believe at like Judgment Day or Backlash. It was one of those two. And like a lot of people really loved that. And that was a shining.
It's kind of like it's kind of like how in the end of the WWE's cruiserweight title, which we have not gone into yet. It's kind of like how Shane Helms was the champion for over a year, and that's because he just didn't have any competition.
Right.
He was the best cruiserweight champion. He had no one to defend it with. He was feuding with Matt Hardy, even though Matt Hardy could not compete for that cruiserweight title. Ironically enough anymore.
Yeah.
So that's how Malenko felt at this point.
Basically, Dean Malenko beat Lita in a light heavyweight championship match, oddly enough. And the stipulation was that if Lita lost the match, she would have to go on a date with Dean. And they end up in a hotel room. The lights go out, and Matt Hardy's in there as the lights come up. Champagne, Dean? The infamous quote that Dean had after the champagne bottle broke over his glass. Ow, that hurt.
Also, I always like to say that Lita was all of our first goth girl crush, and if you say she's not, then you're lying. But this was also a very strange storyline. This was back again. Matt is dating Lita at this point, and WWF feels like, oh, your girlfriend can be a trophy, and she can just be shelled off to any single person that wants to date her. It felt very weird and gross.
It was,
like I said. We all had a crush on Lita, and if you say you didn't, you're lying. But again, outdated, out of touch storyline.
And the crowd,
gotta love the attitude there.
The crowd loved these Hardy fellas as well. I wonder if they're ever going to get over from this point. At least, I'm hoping that neither of them are released because of some trouble they're getting into at house shows. But anyway, Dean Malenko is. I'm sorry. Was that too soon for Jeff Hardy fans? Dean Malenko.
That Jeff Hardy Roman Reigns match.
Nope. No, we're not. And I'm very sad about that. But Dean Malenko walks to the ring with a death stare after he was embarrassed on SmackDown. But there were, honestly, I liked the match, but there were too many missed spots early on in this for me to really put it over the top. I don't think it's certainly not the best opener of the year 2000 that we ever got, but Eddie Guerrero was the first ouster after Jeff hit him with a swanton, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? You eliminate.
I forgot this was elimination style until that point because I thought like Jeff got the pin, and I was like, oh, well, that was a fun and quick little opener, but then the match was like, oh shit, it's elimination.
It is elimination. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and Eddie Guerrero was the first one to be out, and I'm like, God, you eliminate your best worker, like not even like 5 minutes in. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against Saturn and Malenko, but like I said, this is way past their WCW days. This ain't Saturn versus Jericho. They're not playing up their wrestling ability. They're playing up more of the character aspect, which when you have three workhorses like the Radicals, I think you need to focus less on character and more on their in-ring ability.
Right. And speaking of Saturn, I think he looked really good in this match. He wrestled both Hardy Boys really, really nicely, I thought. He eliminated Jeff with a DVD of all moves after a nice whisper in the wind from Jeff. Matt gets in there, and then Perry Saturn's girlfriend, Terry, at ringside, trips up Matt Hardy. The difference a year makes, because if you remember, Matt and Jeff won the Terry Invitational Tournament like a year prior to this, and Terry would end up becoming their manager for a while. And here she is tripping up her former client. What a difference, It's crazy.
Terry Runnels. I feel like she pops up in wrestling history in such the randomest spots. Growing up with me, she was always just that backstage announcer.
Yeah.
But then I start looking through WWF's history, and I see her smoking a cigar with Goldust as his valet. I see her in this. I see her, in various different roles. And I'm like, damn, what a gem she was. She was definitely diverse. She had a lot. She wore a lot of different hats in WWF.
A gem for sure. Absolutely. But Terry slaps Matt Hardy, and then Lita retaliates by fighting Terry on the outside. Where is Joey Styles to call that? Matt Hardy hits a twist of fate on Perry Saturn, and he's out of there. So Dean Malenko, the heel, is going after Matt Hardy and his girlfriend Lita, who, may I remind you, Malenko has a deranged crush on Lita, who is already dating Matt Hardy, and now he has to fight from underneath, 2-on-1. So, I mean, it's kind of ass backwards psychology if you think about it. But
yeah, but let's fast forward to another deranged rivalry that I can't wait to talk about in Kurt Angle versus Booker T. They did do a handicap match with Booker and Sharmell versus Angle, but at the same time, of course Booker or Matt are going to want to defend their
of course,
their significant other. Not saying Lita was more than capable of defending herself, but is it really fair? I don't think that's a unfair disadvantage.
No, and it's not like, they had the advantage for very long, because Malenko gets a 3 count on Matt Hardy via an inside cradle, and then it's just Dean Malenko versus Lita 1-on-1, which actually the crowd ate up. I was very surprised by this. Lita almost won a few times.
Why don't you look into your own history and realize that intergender wrestling does get over. Intergender wrestling can work, and in this same show, it works very well.
And there were a couple of occasions where Lita almost won with a victory roll and then a Lita salt. The crowd was eating up those near falls. I was really, really pleasantly surprised by this. But then
when you treat intergender wrestling not like intergender wrestling and just wrestling, it gets over. Say what you want about Impact Wrestling, but they're the only ones that have the balls to put their world title on a woman.
Yep.
That's my little rant about intergender wrestling.
Very true. But lo and behold, Dean Malenko hits a superplex. Then he stops the count when Lita was down and out. He wants to... Man, the year 2000 was a very different time. He wants to inflict more punishment, of course. Dean Malenko hits a Roderick Strong-esque backbreaker, and he stops the count again, only to lock on the most demented Texas Cloverleaf you will ever see in your life, and Lita taps out to Dean Malenko in what a lot of people consider Dean Malenko's most memorable win in the World Wrestling Federation, which is very strange. As the man of 1,000 holds, he was extremely famous in WCW, but now here in WWF, he's just beating up everybody's gothic crush,
Yeah, it's just
good lord.
You have probably 3 S-tier top wrestlers coming from WCW into your promotion. You'd think you would handle them a little better. So everyone, take this as a history lesson. WWF has always had, the reputation of fucking up talent from another company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a reputation that has not escaped them 21 years after the fact. But in all seriousness, this is a hot opener. I'm comfortable giving it 3 stars. I thought it told a good story. I thought it was one of the better matches on this show, if I'm being serious for a minute. It's really fun. Everybody played their part very well.
Match. Yeah, very fun match. I'll give it 2 3/4 stars. Definitely, you can have there are definitely worse openers out there.
Yeah. And then after the match, Michael Cole and his frosted tips go to interview Lita, who is just, she's out, but she's not down completely. And she's like, I know I can beat him. And I feel like she did beat him on a later episode of SmackDown, but I could be very wrong about that. You can correct me in the comments if you guys want to. But we cut backstage, Tomas, and there is the WWF World Heavyweight Champion Kurt Angle warming up, doing pop squats. Lillian Garcia walks in for an interview, and Kurt is appalled. This is top tier comedic, I don't want to say innocent Kurt Angle because he knows what he's saying, but he feels like, he's not wanting to offend anybody, but, what he's saying is really, really bad.
You're going to sit there and say he's innocent when the first thing he tells Lillian Garcia is, do you have any Bulgarian friends? What the hell? And Lillian says, I can't say that I do.
Lillian, are you Bulgarian? And then
Angle just goes off and starts telling all the different nationalities he's beaten, and I'm just like,
yeah,
you feel good about yourself, Angle?
Yeah, all the different nationalities. He beat all these different nationalities, so he explicitly tells Lillian, he's like, I'm not going to sweat a bull. I'm not going to sweat a redneck. I'm not going to sweat a badass. I'm not going to sweat a fat ass. And I'm not even going to sweat someone with a big nose. And I certainly won't sweat it. And I certainly won't sweat it in front of, no offense, Alabama, a bunch of inbred hicks. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
He's not wrong.
I mean, the way he delivered that line was just like he wanted to be like, the nicest he could be, but even then it was just brutal. But speaking of Alabaman people, who do we have next, Tomas?
We have up in the next match William Regal defending the European title against everybody's favorite fucking asshole, Bob Hardcore Holly.
Yeah, European Championship match. And a little bit of background. William Regal actually did lose the championship to Hardcore Holly's cousin Crash at the Rebellion pay-per-view house show in Birmingham, England, I want to say. But then he regained it like the night after on Raw. So then we have this rematch from Survivor Series a month before in Bob Holly's home state. William Regal comes out and he lectures the crowd on manners. Manners. Like, he's like, wash your overalls at least once a week, just so it's not too dirty. And I'm like, what the hell? And
he goes on to say, like, oh, it's okay to love dogs, but the way you guys love dogs in Alabama is a little bit concerning.
And of course, before he continues his lecture, Bob Holly interrupts him for the hometown pop. I gotta say, man, I mean, William Regal dominated this match. I mean, Bob Holly hit a couple of nice drop kicks and a Falcon Arrow here and there, but this was all William Regal for the most part.
Oh, I mean, considering they were only given 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then it gets to the end of the match. Bob Holly hits William Regal with his bad arm, which surgically had the steel plate put inside of it for recovery. That was the arm that was broken by I don't know what word I want to use, but it was a misfire on a Kurt Angle moonsault back in the spring. So he had a steel plate put in his arm, and he clocked Regal with it. And then out comes...
Is it just me, or does Holly just have really bad luck with injuries? Because as we're going to talk about very soon in our retrospective, Holly would break his neck in 2003.
Yep, he sure would. And then he would come back with a fiery vengeance, to say the very least. And we'll get to him later. But then we get Raven interference for what reason? What reason? I still don't understand why Raven ran out here. What connection does he have with William Regal? Like, I don't understand it.
What connection does he have with Holly?
I don't know. They're both in the hardcore division, maybe? I don't remember Raven holding the hardcore title at this time, but he probably did. But I don't remember him holding it at this show. But what we have here, Raven hits the Even Flow DDT on Hardcore Holly. A lot of people call it the Raven effect. I think the Even Flow is a much better name for it, so that's what we're going to call it. We'll stick with it. Even Flow on Bob Holly, and Regal just pins Holly and retains. 1.5 stars. It was a match. Felt like your average Raw match to me, but...
Yeah, but you know what? I'm going to give WWF credit. Some rare continuity in the European title. Like, Regal held it for him, he's winning and he's actually retaining because, Attitude Era, they just love hot potatoing these titles all over the place. And the European title was one of those victims, but again, some very strange continuity when it comes to title retentions.
Regal must have held this damn belt at least 3 times in the year 2000 alone. But, I mean, I couldn't tell you if that was true or not. But, yeah, this was a match. I mean, it could have been better. They certainly worked hard. I mean, nothing really bad to say about the wrestling. But the crowd just, oddly enough, the Alabama crowd was not into it with their home state hero in it. Like, really tells you a lot.
Considering they were only given 5 minutes, again, this was a Raw match.
Yeah.
Just like the next match we're going to get. It's Val Venis representing Right to Censor versus Chyna. And get used to that fucking theme song, everyone, because we're going to see a lot of RTC on this show, surprisingly.
Yep. There's 3 out of the 8 matches on this show featuring Right to Censor members. Chyna versus Val Venis. At this point, Chyna was, RTC had been, like, targeting Chyna mainly because of her stint on Playboy's cover. And Chyna was really taking, like, no for an answer on that one. And she attacks Val Venis during his entrance to the ring, which is a very, very common theme throughout this show. You'll sense a pattern if you ever go back and rewatch this on Peacock. But Val Venis is accompanied to the ring by the women's champion Ivory, who was at the forefront of this feud with Chyna.
She is the women's champion, and she's coming out here before her title defense. This is a pet peeve that I have. And it's a pet peeve I'm having with watching a lot of wrestling shows lately. In my opinion, if you're a champion who is going to defend your title, That's very important, and that should have all of your attention, especially on a pay-per-view. I don't want to see that champion beforehand. I don't want to see them cutting any promos. I don't want to see them interfering in any matches. I don't want to see them doing absolutely anything because they should be focused on getting ready for this match.
Yeah, and I mean,
So-
she tried running interference so many times with the
Yeah.
Ninth Wonder of the World, you know?
Yeah, this is far off the topic, but I always say this because I saw it in this show, and I was just recently watching another Impact pay-per-view where I forgot who was the world champion. It was EC3. EC3 was the world champion. It was bound for glory.
I know what you're talking about.
He came out and he cut a promo, and he came out and cut another promo with Tyrus, and I'm like, this is your world champion going into a title defense. I don't want to see him on any of the show at all. That is someone. Okay, your champion.
Nope.
People are paying for to see on this pay-per-view. They shouldn't. I don't care who it is. This isn't a shot at EC3. This is a shot at any sort of booking when it comes to this. I don't want to see your world champion, women's or men, anytime on the show before their title defense. Imagine if Hulk Hogan interfered in like 2 matches prior to his main event match with Andre the Giant.
Right.
It would kill the mystique and the magic.
Yeah, imagine if, what's her guts? Imagine if Becky Lynch walked out to the ring with Seth Rollins for his Hell in a Cell match against Edge, and then she walked out later on Crown Jewel, and then she defended her title successfully against Bianca and Sasha. It would kind of kill the mystique. You know, again, just
I don't
modern
mean to go on that
comparison.
tangent, but I'm just seeing it recently, and it bugs the fuck out of me.
No, I get it. I get it, for sure.
I am a casual fan, and again, I'm just going to use EC3 as an example. I'm not trying to turn this into an Impact rant. But if I'm a casual fan and I see, the world champion's defending the title, if I see him come out and cut a promo, I could just say, well, I saw him, I'm going to go home now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I mean, Ivory tried running interference a few times. She's chased, and then Chyna runs right into a fisherman suplex by Val Venis for a 3 count.
I enjoyed this match because I feel like Chyna and Venus had some good moments. It was very fluent, and I feel like the action flowed very well, considering they were only given 5 minutes. And, Chyna was over. She was very over as a babyface at this time.
She was, and then Val Venis dominated this entire match. I don't remember one single offensive move Chyna had against him. Not one.
You don't? Because I remember her getting a few shots in.
I mean, she got a few shots in, but she never, hit a pedigree. She never hit any of her big moves on Val Venis. Val Venis didn't even hit a money shot on Chyna. That was his big move. A lot of people popped for the money shot back in the Attitude Era. So it was, I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
he is RTC,
Yeah, this is a match that really doesn't light the world on fire. I mean, 1.5 stars of it being nice. Chyna would then go on an extended feud with Ivory specifically. If you want more info on that, check out our review on WrestleMania 17. That's because Val Venis would kayfabe break Chyna's neck with a spike pile driver. I believe it was either the next night or the next episode of Raw after that. And then after that, Ivory would be like, I was the one who broke Chyna's neck. And I was like, no, that was Val Venis. What the heck were you smoking to think that you were the one who spiked Chyna? It's
what, you didn't think we were paying attention?
Yeah, no, she was taking credit for it. But then we cut backstage. We actually have a few segments before this next match, Tomas. First up, we have Vince McMahon walking backstage with his cane, and his daddy's little girl, Stephanie, comes up to him, and she tries to stop Hell in a Cell. She's very concerned for her husband, Triple H. Hopefully you're feeling better soon, Hunter. It's thoughts and prayers. And Stephanie basically says she's very concerned, and then Vince says, "That damn Foley," and then he walks out to the ring for a segment, which do you want to talk about that segment first, or do you want to talk about this Undertaker thing?
Let's get Vince out of the way, because he basically comes out and he tries to stop the Hell in a Cell match, but he basically says, don't think that I'm doing this because I care about any of you, because I don't. I don't think that I'm turning a new leaf, because everything that I said about Linda on Raw last week, I meant every single word of it, and
has
I still
no
want
regrets.
that divorce. He's basically saying, I want to stop this match, but don't think that I'm a good guy now, because I'm not. I'm still an asshole.
Yeah. And he's basically asking the crowd to stand up in protest to the Hell in a Cell match. I mean, you have 1 or 2 trolls in the audience do so, but nobody basically, is taking Vince's word for gospel, and then he says, "Damn it, I said stand up!" And JR sounds like he's about to throw up on commentary. I'm gonna be sick. Like, Jesus Christ, you know? And then Vince basically says, not only will it be on Foley's conscience, it'll be on your conscience as well. This was peak heel Vince McMahon, hypocrite Vince McMahon, whatever you want to call him. But we do have, do you want to talk about this Undertaker thing? It was so strange.
Oh my gosh, yes. So like
I know you were ranting
earlier,
about
this whole pay-per-view revolves around this one match. It's in the opening package. We have promo after promo after promo. The undercard is an afterthought on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very much like apparent when we get to this segment where Undertaker is standing in the Hell in a Cell and he methodically, and I'm not kidding, this segment felt like it went for 10 minutes. He talks about the Hell in a Cell.
Probably
He talks
was.
about being in the first Hell in a Cell. He talks about what he did in Hell in a Cell. He talks about what he did to Shawn Michaels. He talks about what he will do to Stone Cold. He talks about what he wants to do to Rikishi and Triple H. And he methodically, in very much detail, talks about what he's going to do to every single person in this cell. If this was a featurette on the DVD, if this was a segment on Raw, sure. But on pay-per-view, oh my God, it went forever.
Forever. Bonus points for the Sandlot reference, my friend.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. Taker. I mean, he was like, this promo was about as slow as one of his 2005 Dead Man entrances, if I'm being honest. Like, I mean, it was strange placement, like right in the middle of the show. Like, I mean, okay. I mean, part of me
if there was
why they had it here.
Any time for you to go up and get a snack, it was this segment.
Sure was. I mean, oh, you could have also gone up to get a snack on this next match, which I'm sure has Tomas smiling with glee right now that we're about to talk about.
Oh, here we go. It is Chris Jericho versus Kane in a last man standing match. Why are Jericho and Kane fighting? They're fighting over a cup of coffee.
Okay, that's not why I hate this, okay? That's not why I hate this. I thought that was actually kind of clever. Like, this is actually a feud that harkens back to past Survivor Series where they also fought in kind of a rough match to get through. I also went back and rewatched Jericho Kane on that show just for, like, hindsight. Kane won that match in a match that was kind of botchy, actually. But this is just kind of a continuation of their feud with an added stipulation on it. And that's why I was kind of screaming, you know, for those of you who remember from earlier on in the year, you know, I freaking hate Last Man Standing with a fiery passion. I don't like it. And Tomas does for some reason, but
I like this match, but let's rip the Band-Aid off. This was not a good match.
And you know why? Number one, it went 17 minutes. If you look on the stats, the results on Wikipedia, this was one of the longest matches on the show. And why is that?
It was the second longest.
Yes. And why? Why was it the second longest? Can you tell me, Tomas? Can you tell me?
Okay. That was not my issue with this match. And before we get into some of the spots of this match,
God damn it.
This is my issue with how some, and I mean some, not every single Last Man Standing, how some Last Man Standing matches are booked.
It's everyone.
Because, Zack, you got to admit, there have been some legendary Last Man Standing matches in the past. Some that come to mind. John Cena versus Umaga. Triple H versus Ric Flair. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels.
Triple H versus Chris Jericho at Fully Loaded earlier this same year in the WWF. That's the best Last Man Standing match they've ever done. Easy.
There have been some legendary Last Man Standing matches, but there are some, I want to say pairings or some combinations that just don't work in a Last Man Standing.
No.
And Jericho and Kane are one of them.
I mean,
and one of the examples,
I hate to say it, these two never had the best chemistry anyway. Take the Last Man Standing stipulation out of it. I mean, like I said, their match at Survivor Series the month before was a really, really rough match to get through. And Jericho is not someone who's known for his botches, but he was partially responsible for why that match was, as mediocre as it was. And Kane, Kane worked around it. This match was, admittedly, I hate saying that this match was better because it's fucking last man standing. But, I mean, again, Kane is attacking Chris Jericho during his entrance, which, by the way, peak Kane right here looks fucking scary. Again, just like WrestleMania 17, he walks out to the ring and I was like terrified. This is a monster that you find under your bed. The expressionless loves
my
this
biggest
game.
issue with this match, and I've seen it in other last man standing matches and other promotions. So when you do a last man standing match, the rules are
Yes.
if you can't make it back to your feet by the count of 10, you lose the match. And there are
Yep.
two issues with that. Number one, if you want to play it like it's real, every single time someone gets knocked down, you got to count. Teddy
Yep.
Long was not doing that. He was taking his sweet ass time making this count. And here's the thing, you can't pick and choose what spots you're going to count. That's going to make it look fake.
Yeah.
You have to do it every single time. And you can't just, it's a big spot, I'm going to start counting. No, every single time someone goes down, you got to start the count.
Yep. And that's why this match was so long too. It's because
not only is Teddy Long guilty of that, Teddy Long is so guilty of that. When someone was not going to make it to their feet by the count of 10, he waited for them to get up. And it was so obvious.
Yep.
Like, I don't remember what spot it was, but Jericho was down.
Yeah.
It was 9 and Jericho hadn't even moved yet. And then Jericho's starting to make it up to his feet, and Teddy Long holds and holds and holds for a good 5 seconds. And his Jericho's up. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the same thing happened at the Royal Rumble last man standing match with Roman against Kevin Owens. Like Roman couldn't stand up from the handcuffs and the referee stopped his count at 5. 5. You cannot stop your count in a last man standing match. And again, let me reiterate my point here. This is why last man standing matches suck, because you always have to wait for the near falls. Like, imagine how much better this match would have been, Tomas, if this were false count anywhere. Imagine how much more exciting it would have been. But last man standing, 17 minutes, you were waiting and waiting for Teddy Long to do something. And
I've always said, and we're going to get into this, when we eventually get to this pay-per-view, but Earl Hebner has always been the worst at these matches. I remember a last man standing match in 2005 with Chris Benoit and Edge, where Jerry Lawler was constantly getting on Hebner's case.
Yeah.
Saying, why isn't he counting? Why aren't you counting? Like, that was 10. Hebner, what are you doing? You are not doing your job right now.
That was Benoit.
I'm glad he did.
Yeah, Benoit and Edge, I believe. So
yes.
Yeah. Benoit and Edge. I remember that match vividly. I remember liking it as a kid before I knew better about last man standing matches. But anyway, continue.
It's just it's the biggest pet peeve I've had with these matches, and this is a last man standing defender talking here. So this match just had some decent spots in there, but nothing that made me too excited. Like, I remember a choke slam off the top rope that was pretty impressive. Jericho hits the. I fucking hated when he used the breakdown, but he hit that move. It's no skull crushing finale. I'll even say that Jeff Jarrett's stroke, as much as I hate that move, still looks better than this.
Yeah,
it's a face buster that has no momentum. That's what the breakdown is. It's a face buster with zero momentum.
It's like, do you guys remember Jeff Jarrett and his stroke in TNA? That's pretty much what this move is. Exactly like that.
I think he used it in WCW too.
Mr. Kennedy also used a variation of this move known as the mic check. Pretty much the exact same move. The Miz still uses it these days as a variation called the skull crushing finale.
But Miz makes it look good because
move.
He winds it up and there's momentum and impact on the move.
Yeah.
Jericho would literally just run up behind and like awkwardly push his opponent down. It's almost as bad as the Playmaker. I hate that move.
Yes.
I hate the Playmaker.
Yeah.
It does not look like it hurts. The breakdown does not look like it hurts.
Oh my God. Yeah. The Playmaker is the worst. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to it, but, was it just
thank
me?
God Jericho has the code breaker and the Judas effect now.
Yeah. Jericho,
we went.
Jericho hit a top rope Judas effect in this match in the year 2000. Like,
weird.
Everybody,
That's weird.
everybody thought that it was so amazing when he hit it on Hoovy back at what was it, Homecoming, or was it God, I don't remember what Dynamite special it was now.
I think it was Homecoming.
Yeah, it was either Homecoming or Fight for the Fallen, one of those two. But he goes off the top rope and hits a Judas effect on Kane. Kane sits right back up, and Teddy Long, I don't think, was counting there. There was also a point where Kane had a sleeper on Jericho, and you know how the referees would pick the wrestler's arm up for the 3 count? Jericho was counted to 3. The match should be over, but then Teddy Long counts to 10 because of this goddamn stipulation. Like, ended right there. That's it.
You got to be
wins.
consistent. You got to be consistent if you're going to do a last man standing match.
No, it was
you can't pick and choose your spots. You got to count every single time. And that's not really on the referee. It's on the wrestlers to be like, if we're going to do spots, they have to be ones that,
yes,
that are going to make sense with the match. I think that Jericho and Kane were not getting the concept of this match.
No.
Even though Jericho has been in them before.
Yeah, Kane's hitting all of his signature moves. He's hitting his flying clothesline that he does, and it always looks fantastic. He hits a chokeslam. I am begging Kane to pin him and end this match. Jericho gets up at 9. Would have been better if he kicked out at 2.
That was the spot where Theodore Long waited for Jericho to get up.
After the chokeslam?
Infuriated me, yes.
Yeah. So Kane then calls for his tombstone. Jericho hits Kane with a low blow, Lion Salt with a chair assist, and it was at this point where you really notice that these are slow-ass counts. Kane is back up again at 9. Jericho is press slammed to the outside. They fight towards the entrance, and then they get to the finish. So Jericho bulldogs Kane through a table. And then you see this big wall of barrels because it's a big, gigantic mess at the stage because it's Armageddon, right? Jericho pushes this gimmicked barrel wall on top of Kane, stands on top of it, and that's how he wins. Ladies and gentlemen.
Here's the thing. That structure was nowhere near Kane when it fell over.
No. Well, I mean, it can't have been because Kane would have literally died right there.
Yeah, but it didn't look like Kane was trapped.
No.
Let's fast forward to a good finish to a last man standing match. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt at Payback 2014, where Cena put a trunk on top of the hole that he put Bray Wyatt through. And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Wyatt could not get out of that. Kane easily could have crawled out from under that.
Yeah, he easily could have. Yeah. And now you guys see.
This match is painful.
You guys see why I fucking hate Last Man Standing. 2.25. 2.25. This match,
it was painful.
It could have been better with, a false count anywhere, or if it was a hardcore match, but they even fought backstage at the beginning, It was painful. 50-50 booking, baby. Jericho wins, gets his win back after losing to Kane at Survivor Series. And this feud is over.
Also, was Jericho the babyface in this?
He was.
I couldn't tell. I honest to God couldn't tell.
Oh, because he was the one who spilled the coffee on him? Kane was basically the heel because he thinks Jericho is prettier than he is. I guess he was saying that in interviews, the more you see him, the more I want to end him. I'm like, Jesus.
Alrighty.
If you're jealous of Jericho's good looks and you want to end him because of that, more power to you, Kane. But yeah, we do get, after that boring match, you get Jonathan Coachman interviewing Mick Foley in his office, I guess you can say. And Foley is basically reiterating that if any serious injury comes from these WWF superstars, he will resign as the commissioner. More on that later, surely. But then we cut to WWF New York, and awkwardly, wild Shawn Michaels pops out. And he offers his thoughts. He can barely hear JR, and then he's just playing to the crowd. That's basically it. That's basically it. How awkward did you find this?
I'm sorry. I'm holding back a sneeze right now.
No, you're good. You're good.
This was the very awkward time between 98 and 2001 where Michaels couldn't wrestle, but he was still awkwardly there. And this was one of those, this is one of those moments. This is just I vividly remember a very awkward time where Kane just randomly showed up on SmackDown a couple years ago just to promote Danielson versus The Fiend at the Royal Rumble.
I remember that. Yep.
And it was just like this. Michaels was there, and you go, oh shit, Shawn Michaels, and then JR says, oh, Michaels, you were in the very first. Oh, that's why he's there.
And then the
just
Fiend,
to talk about Hell in a Cell.
The Fiend murdered Kane on that SmackDown, I think. But in any case, up next, speaking of the right to censor, they are defending the WWF World Tag Team Championships, Bull Buchanan and the Good Father, up against Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boyz, and the team of Road Dogg and K-Kwik, who's now known as R-Truth in today's WWE. He was a rookie here. They're coming out to get rowdy. You know, it was a weird entrance that they had because Road Dogg was very much like, you could tell that Road Dogg was off at this time. I don't know what was going on at this point in his life, but he certainly was not all there. But
say what you want about K-Kwik and Road Dogg. That was a guilty pleasure of a theme song. That was a
no, it wasn't.
Pleasure. Guilty pleasure.
Okay,
I'm gonna admit that.
Okay, but is R-Truth's theme right now better than this, or do you like Get Rowdy better?
I mean, this is still better than it's time to get book. That right time to, remember that one? Remember that theme song we used for like 3 weeks in 2010?
I remember that one. Yep.
It's better than that.
And blow the roof. Oh.
Yeah,
I know
so
that.
weird.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, it was so weird.
I like his updated theme now with the new lyrics. Truth
Yes.
be told, I be kicking like karate.
Yeah. But anyway, Road Dogg and K-Kwik coming out wearing Alabama Crimson Tide football jerseys because of where they are. The big story of this match is the Dudley Boyz' fake induction into the right to censor, and the infamous line from Bubba Ray Dudley, "If putting people through tables is wrong, then I don't want to be right." And it was such a great segment. They put old White Sox through a table, and it was a great underrated segment. But there
and this feud has nothing to do with K-Kwik, Road Dogg, Edge, and Christian. This was all RTC and the Dudley Boyz.
No,
so why were they in this match? Beats me.
Well, it was because Edge and Christian were the ones who won the titles. Spoiler alert, but there you go. There was a comment from Jerry the King Lawler that I actually kind of found funny. And I do agree. Road Dogg's hair did look like Cindy Lou Who from the Grinch movie, directed by Ron Howard. And I was like, yeah, that's around the time that film came out too. So at least it's relevant. So that's one King comment I will accept then. So there were some stereo bionic elbows between Road Dogg and Bubba Dudley, and then they just go hammering on each other. Edge and R-Truth had a really nice sequence, or K-Kwik in this case. But both of them looked really good. Can you believe that those two are still on WWE's active roster these days? Like,
that is a very weird thought.
So insane. Weird. This is when R-Truth was a rookie too. Like, this is so strange to look back on this. Yeah, but
nobody remembers Truth in this role. And then when WWE brings it up, it's like, yeah, he was around during the Attitude Era.
He was, yep. And then,
fun fact, he was actually, when he got re-signed in 2008, he was actually set to return as K-Kwik. And then at the last second, Stephanie, I think the day he was going to come on TV, Stephanie asked him to change his name to R-Truth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Because he was running the Truth Killings on the indie scene after his short run in the WWF here. But all hell is breaking loose once Bubba Ray, of course, gets his hot tag off of R-Truth. There's a Stevie kick on Road Dogg. They do the what's up on both Edge and Christian. There's Dudleyville devices. They're doing 3Ds on both members of the right to censor. And then Stevie comes into the ring, DDT's Devon. And then Bubba's distracted for a second. There's a spear by Edge for a nice kick out there. Then Christian sneaks in, hits the kill switch, and then Edge pins Bubba off of that. Edge and Christian are the tag team champions for like the 7th or 8th time at this point in their careers. I don't know, but they've been winning the titles quite a bit throughout the year 2000. But which is, I mean, if we cover Royal Rumble 2001 next month, which will be another audience vote for a retro Royal Rumble show, if we cover that, I mean, it's kind of weird that Edge pinned Bubba here. Like, if they were going to do that match the next month, then why wouldn't he pin, I don't know, like Road Dogg, for example? I think Road Dogg could have at least stomached a pin there. So,
oh yeah,
it might just be me.
I think I just answered my own question. Like, why were these teams in there? They could have been in there to take the pin, but no, they pinned the Dudleys.
Or they could have been the champions. It could have been right to censor. Like they were nowhere near the tag team titles after this. They were just in the, like, all they were there to do is feud with Chyna after that. And to an extent, the Acolyte Protection Agency. So, I mean, in any case, this is a fun four corners match. I mean, I'm comfortable giving it a 3. I said in my notes that it sets up the Royal Rumble next month nicely and that hot opening matchup, but RTC was kind of a non-factor. It was very, very strange looking back on this, and even stranger to look back and see a young R-Truth here doing his thing. Still as acrobatic as he is right now, which is insane thinking about it. But
I don't even go as far to say that this man does not age. He still looks good today.
No, yeah, I'm sure John Cena was still his idol, even at this point. So, of course. It's so. We cut backstage, and you see Triple H sitting in the dressing room with Stephanie. It's kind of a miracle that Triple H survives the forklift drop like a month before at the Survivor Series.
Oh,
remember that?
Attitude Era. Attitude Era. He was on Raw the next fucking night after
he
that
showed up,
shit.
like the next night on Raw, attacking Austin, getting revenge. It was very bizarre.
It's the same issue I had with fucking NWO smashing an 18-wheeler into The Rock's trailer, and then The Rock just shows up on next week like nothing fucking happened.
Yep.
I hate shit like that. I know
very
it's the
much.
Attitude Era, but come on.
Sell the injury, Hunter.
Austin gets run over. He's out for a year because he had a real injury, but then they pull this shit, and Triple H
because he needed neck surgery. Triple H wasn't injured.
No. And oh God, I hate it. But you know what I did like? Now the last line of that pay-per-view was Triple H going, "Oh shit."
Austin, don't! Oh my God! No! Holy shit!
And
that was the best.
Cut to black.
Yeah, cut to black. Austin walks off into the darkness. That's it. But I mean,
in all seriousness, Triple H got a damn good promo in this segment.
Was extremely intense. If there was one thing Triple H was great at, aside from, ring psychology, he had a lot of intensity when he cut a promo. So, he had that going for him. And I hope he makes a full recovery very, very soon. I'm hearing that, he's doing a lot better than he was, but, it's still a tough thing for sure. But, oh boy, Tomas. I know you want to talk about this next gentleman.
Oh, here we go.
So fucking weird.
It is Chris Benoit, the Rabid Wolverine, challenging for the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
The champion, the one Billy Gunn.
The one Billy Gunn, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason,
one Billy Gunn.
Curiously, not going to be on WWE Day 1 in a few weeks. If any pay-per-view where the one is going to be, highlighted, it would be the one Billy Gunn. But no.
The one Billy Gunn. Who is the one Billy Gunn?
Well,
the one Billy Gunn who won the King of the Ring that year. The one Billy Gunn. The current Intercontinental Champion. The one Billy Gunn.
Actually,
who apparently is being pushed to the moon right now.
Yeah, was he? No, I think he won King of the Ring like the year before that, because this was the year we had King Kurt.
That's right.
Yeah,
still a former King of the Ring.
Still a former King of the Ring. Yeah, no, I get
the
what
one
you're saying.
Billy Gunn. Why? Okay, Zack's head is probably spinning because he wants to know why the fuck I keep saying the one Billy Gunn.
Yeah.
The reason why I keep saying the one Billy Gunn is because every single time they referred to this man, they had you say the one Billy Gunn.
That was his gimmick, though.
The one Billy Gunn.
Rhymes. The one Billy Gunn. He's got it all. Look at all that. Okay, if you want to talk about guilty pleasure theme songs, go listen to the one Billy Gunn's theme song that he walked out to.
Nothing will ever be I'm an ass man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. This theme song is much better. But yeah, the one Billy Gunn walks out with the brand spanking new Intercontinental title that he won off of Eddie Guerrero on the Thanksgiving episode of SmackDown right after Survivor Series, fun fact. And he's defending against a fellow radical, Chris Benoit, who had won the title, I want to say, like 2 different times in the year 2000 prior to this. But this was honestly some good chain wrestling to start, but the crowd was just not into this. And I didn't understand
that's
why.
What hurt this match the most.
The crowd was just like not fully invested. Like I guess they just didn't believe in the one Billy Gunn enough at this point. But like, I mean,
Also, we're talking about 2000 WWF. Think about today's day and age in wrestling. We want to see 5-star clinic matches. We want to see, Nakamura versus Danielson. We want to see Nakamura versus Styles. We want to see Danielson and Punk and all these fantastic technical wrestlers. But back in the day, if it wasn't, gimmicks and shock value TV and blood and guts and nudity and all that, the fans didn't care. If you gave them a solid chain wrestling match, they really didn't want to see it.
They didn't care. I mean, it was a fairly basic match. Billy Gunn goes, or the one Billy Gunn, excuse me. Yeah, thank you, Tomas. Billy Gunn goes knees first into the steel steps. And then we get a strange Jim Ross quote about Chris Benoit, who he claims has an XFL linebacker mentality. Big yikes on that. Yeah. Yeah, are they planning on making a comeback in 2022? I
don't
know. Why don't we ask Dwayne Johnson that question? So, I mean,
oh yeah, that's right. He bought it.
Yeah, there were a lot of XFL references on this show. Like, look back at it. If you don't believe us, look back at Armageddon 2000 and count how many XFL references there are. It's a big yikes. But I mean, for an Intercontinental title match on pay-per-view, this was pretty average, pretty basic match. Nothing wrong with the wrestling. But if I'm nitpicking right now, I feel like this match had a big missed opportunity because the one Billy Gunn basically was his gimmick coming back from a serious rotator cuff injury in his shoulder. So why was Chris Benoit putting the bullseye on the one Billy Gunn's knee? Why was he doing that? Because Chris Benoit's finisher is the crippler crossface, isn't it? Which affects the shoulder. Nowhere near the knee. So I don't know why the match was built around Billy Gunn like hitting his knee on the stairs as opposed to his surgically repaired shoulder. I feel like that would be a bigger story, but I just feel like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's a big missed opportunity for them to like tell a much more cohesive story there. But
oh yeah.
I don't know. That could just be me. I mean, it's not like they like abandoned selling the knee or anything like that. I think the one Billy Gunn sold it quite well. Chris Benoit hit a figure, he locked in a figure 4. There were triple Germans, misses the diving headbutt. And then the one Billy Gunn makes his comeback. He hits a jackhammer. And then he hits his famouser for a kick out. And then he goes for his swinging neckbreaker finisher, which is called what, Tomas? Do you know?
What was it called?
One and only. The one and only
from the one Billy Gunn.
No, I was doing a Just Bring It reference because Taz was the one who would call that repeatedly. One and only. Anyway, but yeah, so the one Billy Gunn goes for his one and only neck breaker, which is nicely countered into a crippler crossface. There is a tilt-a-whirl move. Benoit locks the crippler crossface back in. The one Billy Gunn taps out, and Benoit is the new Intercontinental Champion. Was there any doubt? Could have been lots better than this. Nothing really wrong with the match at 2 3/4 stars, but again, I feel like if they focus more on the surgically repaired shoulder, would have done wonders to help this match even more.
Oh yeah, better storytelling for sure. Again, it was an era where they didn't really care about that unless it involved steel chairs and blood. And yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the Attitude Era. It's not very something I frequently visit, to be perfectly honest. I would rather revisit the pay-per-views that we're doing for our retrospective. Right. That's what I remember growing up with,
Yep. There you go. Yeah, it's I still think it's pretty interesting to look back on these shows because I do vividly remember catching up on the Attitude Era with like a big like tape collection back in the day, and this was one that I watched frequently. So, but with that being said, you have Jim Ross backstage talking
to the one Billy Gunn.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the one Billy Gunn too. What happened to him? I don't know I don't know if he went elite or anything like that.
I feel I heard a rumor he started a gun club.
With his one and only sons.
Yes,
with his one and only son, the one Colton Gunn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give the gimmick to Colton. It's not doing anything.
the one Austin Gunn.
The one Austin Gunn.
Oh my God! I mean, no, they're both the one. They're both the one.
He'll forever be the one Billy Gunn to me.
Yes, yes. Anytime we talk about Billy Gunn on an AEW podcast from now on, we're just going to refer to him as the one Billy Gunn.
The one Billy Gunn.
Even if we go back and look at like his Attitude Era stuff, like even deeper, like farther back, yeah, he's not Mr. Ass. He's the one Billy Gunn. That's what he is.
This fucking gimmick for some reason.
Yeah. The one Billy Gunn. The one Billy Gunn is greater than Dolph Ziggler. Everybody, you heard it first. So,
No. Shawn Michaels, yeah. I can't even pretend to make that joke. Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler.
Anywho,
but remember, in 2015, Ziggler at least admits that Michaels has a better super kick than him. He's not that arrogant.
No. I mean, he wishes he was Shawn Michaels though. But anyway, we're getting way too ahead of ourselves. Triple threat match for the women's title is up next. Ivory is back out here, much to Tomas's chagrin, and she's defending against Molly Holly and a very new Trish Stratus, who is coming out to the ring with spoof gear that says TNAPA. Because if you remember, her boys were the ones who took out the acolytes in their office. But the champion.
But also, can we talk about Molly Holly for a second?
Yes.
This isn't Mighty Molly. This isn't Karen haircut Molly Holly. This is a fresh and brand new Molly Holly herself.
Yeah.
You know, she's known for being, with her cousins Crash and Bob. But this was a fresh new start for Molly Holly. She was long hair. She's spunky. She doesn't have a lot of attitude.
No, I mean, she was like the innocent one of everybody. So coming out with her hands on her hips, like, happy to be here, just nodding to the crowd, walking to the ring. It was cool. I mean, Nora played it really well. So, but is it just me, or was Ivory kind of third wheeling this match? The champion. Because Molly Holly and Trish Stratus were, I don't know if you remember, the opener at Survivor Series 2000 involved Molly and Trish in like an intergender elimination match or something like that. There were a lot of intergender matches in the year 2000.
Well, it's hard to do a lot of things, Zach, when you're only given 2 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah. So Ivory, so Molly almost pinned both of them off a crossbody, but then Molly hits a move on Trish. Ivory tosses her out of the ring, and then Ivory just pins Trish. Very abrupt ending.
Imagine that. You're a wrestler with two other people in the matches, and management is going to come up to you and say, you have 120 seconds to put on a match. That is not enough time.
Half a star.
And this wasn't like a squash match.
It's a triple threat.
It's a championship.
A triple threat for the title. Very different times, half a star for effort, but I mean, this needed more time, and it needed some more build other than the champion being a third wheel. Okay, I am baffled that Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton at WrestleMania only got 10 minutes, but they did a lot with those 10 minutes. They did.
Imagine
it was
if they were given 2 minutes. You can't do anything in 2 minutes unless it's a squash.
No,
this is criminal.
It was a
criminal.
Yep.
Imagine if they gave Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks 2 minutes.
Oh no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. But
just imagine. You can't do anything in 2 minutes.
Yeah, you really can't. You really can't.
Oh my god, I didn't think that was gonna make you mad as it did.
I know, but speaking of criminal, Trish's boys, Test and Albert, come out to corner Molly Holly. And then her cousin Crash, who has been the APA's custodian as of late, goes out and challenges TNA. They dispose of Crash easily, but then the APA makes their big return. There is a vicious clothesline from hell on Albert. And then the Acolytes just come out and celebrate. It's their big return. I feel like this women's title match was more so about the Acolytes' return afterwards, which is so strange.
And if they were going to do that, they should have just made it a segment. They could have just had Ivory call out Molly. They could have cornered her there. The APA could have came out there. Wasting Trish Stratus and Molly Holly's time in this match was stupid.
Very much so. But hey, this next match, Tomas, it's not stupid. We've been building up to this. What do we got?
Here we go. It's the grand finale. It is a 6-man Hell in a Cell match for the WWF Championship, with Kurt Angle defending against The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Undertaker, and the bad man himself, Rikishi.
You want to talk about...
Think of a better lineup of stars in one match for one title.
Huge.
There's honestly, the Hell in a Cell cannot contain this star power. And
No.
I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to say it with you. I loved the Badman theme song.
I did too. I was gonna say the same thing. I sometimes have it as a bop on my drive up to work every day. It's so catchy. I really enjoy that theme song.
I'm gonna make a hot take. If booked right, the Badman Rikishi could have worked.
He really could have, but I mean, and again, like having him be the guy who ran down Austin, like the idea in theory to have it be a mid-carder, solid. Really enjoy that. The choice was rather clumsy, though, just mainly because Rikishi was the fun-loving, dancing babyface with the, he had the big posterior. And then they're just saying he's the guy who ran down Austin and he did it for The Rock. And then it turns into, no, he was the double agent for Triple H. Triple H paid him off to do it as a hitman. Like,
exactly. It makes Rikishi look dumb in that regard. And then you have The Rock verbally bury him on the mic. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin buries him in the ring.
Can I talk about this promo that The Rock had? Not before the match. I'm talking about the one he had on the Go Home Raw. The infamous one where he does all the impersonations of all of his opponents. It's one of the best Rock promos out there. You know what it is, friends. It's on YouTube. It's one of The Rock's best promos ever. And honestly, that is one of the many things that gravitated me towards The Rock, was his promos. And I thought he was just so funny. And that really does encapsulate what he is to a lot of people. He has the charisma, he's hilarious, and he's very intense in the ring, as he showed in this thing.
And back to Rikishi, again, he was set up for success. But then again, when you have him get verbally buried on the mic and then you have him get absolutely annihilated by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Annihilated at No Mercy, I think it was.
Yeah.
No mercy.
Rikishi wasn't given a fighting chance. And it's a shame because, again, if put in the right position, I think the Badman Rikishi could have worked.
It really could have. But no,
they have to. He sits his two twin boys down right now and says, guys, be good bad guys. Learn from my mistakes. I didn't do it right. Or I wasn't set up to do it right. So,
I'm sure his boys know better. I'm sure his boys know better. But, but no, they had to give the attention to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, man, who, might I note, was in his second Hell in a Cell match within a year at this point after he had retired Mick Foley at No Way Out. Couple other themes that did make their debut around this point. Undertaker's infamous Limp Bizkit theme song of Rollin' made his debut not too long before this show. And Stone Cold comes out to his Disturbed theme, which I've said is his best theme song, and you guys can fight me on that all you want. It's the best. It's the absolute best. So good. But then Stone Cold attacks Kurt Angle, who has been waiting outside the cage, who, may I remind you folks, was the WWF champion. Even with all this star power here, it was Kurt. It was Kurt going in with the title belt.
I hated how Angle was like the third person to make his entrance. Like, he's the champion. Have him come out last and have him stare down all of his opponents. Like, you're going to step in there with a bad man. You're going to step in there with a dead man. You're going to step in there with a rattlesnake. Like, come on.
Yeah. With a Brahma Bull. You're going to step in there with a cerebral assassin. You're going to have to walk into the fire there. But this was chaos from the very beginning. I mean, there was a point where they paired off with their respective Survivor Series opponents, Rock with Rikishi, Angle with Taker, and then Austin with Hunter. Austin was raking Triple H's face all the way around the entire cage at one point. There was a stage where, I think it was Taker and Angle were fighting on one side of the cage. Austin's raking Hunter's face across, and he's like, "Excuse me, what? Let me get by." And then he just continues.
This match was chaos incarnate.
Yes, but it was, you know what, my friends? It was damn fun chaos. I really dug this match. It was so
really
much fun to watch.
Spectacle that you just have to sit and just admire and be astonished of all of the shit that is going on in this match. Because this match was 32 minutes of beautiful chaos.
It really, really was. I mean, there were just bodies flying all over the place. Rikishi looked really good in this match, even in defeat. He was chucking his cousin into the steel cage. He was hitting leg drops on Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was a nice little sequence where a lot of people hit their signatures and then someone else came in to save it. Like Triple H hit a pedigree on Rikishi somehow, some way. Stunner on Angle. Angle hit an Angle slam on The Rock. I mean, it was great. It was great. And then there was a callback to that awkward promo that we were talking about with Undertaker, where a la the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 97, he hoists Shawn Michaels' best friend Triple H onto his shoulder, lampoons him into the cage. Great. Absolutely great chaos. But then...
And then somewhat into this match, Vince McMahon comes out.
With the hay truck.
Yes, with a truck.
What the fuck?
Which is a random hay bale truck. Because he says, you know what? If Foley's not going to stop this match, we're going to tear this cage apart and
I'm going to tear the whole damn thing down. Yeah.
So he hooks up the truck to the SL.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here thinking, I don't remember this. How does this fucking end? And it ends with Foley coming out and stopping it with the police.
Mm-hmm.
Foley with the police saying that McMahon cannot do this.
Yeah,
and the police have to drag Vince away.
And it's his damn company though. Why would he be the one who's escorted out?
I was gonna say, Vince is trying to save these guys, and he's the bad guy. If
I could quote Chris Jericho on an Inside the Ropes interview for a second, it's his fucking company. He can do whatever the fuck he wants, you know? So why is the police escorting the chairman out of his own event?
What did Vince do that was illegal? That's what I want to know.
Nothing. But, yeah. So one thing they do tear off is the cell door. You want to call it contrived all you want. You totally can. But sure enough, the match spills to the stage because, of course, it does. Stone Cold hits Triple H with a crane camera. Of course, Triple H is the one to draw blood, the first one to draw blood, rather. If anybody was betting money on Triple H being the first one to bleed, you're correct. You did it. Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Well, when your idol is Ric Flair, of course you're going to learn how to blade.
Yes. But then not too long after that, Austin went face first through that truck window, and it sounded absolutely nasty. And of course, Austin would blade off of that. The Rock was pedigreed on top of one of the cars that was on the stage because, may I remind you, Armageddon. So it's a gigantic fucking mess by the entranceway. So it's a bunch of old rundown used cars that are out there. The Rock was pedigreed on top of one of them. Curtis slammed on a car hood. Austin slingshots Triple H into one of them. Again,
there is so much going on in this match.
Kurt Angle.
So much.
Kurt Angle hits Taker with a hard chair shot to the head that rivals almost what JBL did to Eddie Guerrero about 4 years after this, which is something else we'll talk about before you know it. Triple H, then people start climbing the cage, Tomas. And do you want to talk about what happens here?
Oh my goodness, so much is going on up here. You got Taker, you got Angle, you got Triple H. And Undertaker, another thing Undertaker alluded to in the promo is that he talked about throwing Foley off the cage, and he promised, he vowed he was going to chuck someone else off the cage tonight. But who will it be? Will it be Angle? Will it be Triple H? There's a lot of brawling going up there with the chair. Will it be Austin? Austin hit the stunner up on the cell. It's going back and forth. And then finally, Taker has pinpointed his victim. It's Rikishi.
Yeah,
and
Rikishi.
I'm going to say this now.
Rikishi.
If you're sitting there wondering why Rikishi was in this match, we all know why he was in this match.
Probably.
And he is the MVP of this match for this reason.
Yes. Amen to that. I mean, Rikishi, somehow, some way, bless his heart, made it to the top of the cage to escape The Rock of all people. And The Rock did not climb up to the top of the cage one time in this. Probably the smartest man out of the six here. But in any case, Rikishi climbs up, and then before that big spot, the timekeeper was really struggling to throw a steel chair up to the Undertaker. It took him a few tries before it finally happened. Taker then clocks Angle with a receipt. Rikishi then clocks Taker with a chair. And then it gets to that point, Tomas. Rikishi is teetering by the edge, and then Taker chokeslams Rikishi, and he falls right into that big hay truck. Oh my God, everybody was stunned. Everybody in the ring.
One of the most iconic, and that is one of the scariest moments I have ever seen in wrestling. And Rikishi's balls are the size of his ass cheeks, because there is not a single way in hell you could ever convince me to fall backwards off the Hell in a Cell onto a truck bed of hay and trust that it's going to be there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, again, mad props to Rikishi, the MVP of this match. You want to talk about memorable? What a fall that was, and that was easily eliminating him from the equation. Then you get your Rock and Austin face off, a people's elbow. The Rock attempts the people's elbow rather, and the pad does slide off the cell wall just like it would do in Here Comes the Pain if you use the Rock in a Hell in a Cell match. Triple H thankfully cuts it off, and it's absolute chaos at the end. Rock bottom on Angle, stunner on the Rock. And then Triple H saves the pinfall. And then somehow, some way, Kurt Angle sneaks in a pin on The Rock with one hand on top of his chest. By the skin of his teeth, Kurt Angle retains the WWF Championship against all odds. This was Armageddon, y'all.
Loved that finish. Because
very good.
In so many matches, when there's so many people, it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be a new champion because there's so many different ways the match can end. But I love the fact that against all odds, the champion retained.
Yeah. Yeah. By the skin of his teeth. Absolutely. And, Kurt had to sneak in a pin like the sneaky heel that he is. And, it looks like he was going into WrestleMania as the champion. But if we ever talk about those next couple pay-per-views after Armageddon 2000, if you guys vote them in, of course, we'll talk about how that's not the case.
Obviously gets 5 stars. This was
really
excellent.
Wow.
This was excellent from start to finish.
I wasn't as generous. I went 4 1/4, but I mean,
okay, that's fair. Fuck it. This gets 5 stars.
Yeah.
You're never going to see a match like this again. From start to finish, it's absolute chaos incarnate. There's always something happening. It never slows down, and it's never boring.
This was, you're totally right. I was never bored watching this match. There was always something going on. It was, the action, it was one thing on top of the other. It was like a big Marvel finale action sequence, like the big Battle of New York almost for the year 2000.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, all of this was built around this match, and for a reason. Like this match definitely lived up to the hype.
Sure
and, from all the spots, and again, Rikishi taking that absolute insane ultimate trust fall, props to him. He's the MVP of this match for that spot alone.
All the blood that was lost in this thing. Kurt Angle blading, for the first time in his career. Triple H, dropping gallons of the red viscous fluid. Undertaker stuck at the top of the cage at the end. The Rock just taking an absolute beating in this while giving beatings in his own right. It was great. It was great. I really, really dug it. But I have a question for you. If this match came up 2 years after this, do you think that this would have been a perfect time to bring in the Elimination Chamber? With these 6?
Yes, but this was better than the Elimination Chamber.
Right.
Because the Elimination Chamber was so contained.
Right.
This was absolutely all over the place.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I thought it was more fun that way. But I feel like if this match were done even a year later, they could have introduced the Elimination Chamber. But again, it was a lot of fun. I had an absolute blast watching this match. I had a blast watching this show just for that reason. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is 6 3/4 out of 10. I mean, this is a one-match show, if I ever saw one for the Attitude Era. It had one of the lower buy rates in the year 2000, which I'm still convinced, Tomas, is the greatest year that the WWF ever had for pay-per-views.
Oh, yeah.
They ever had.
Oh, yeah. Easily. This was the turning point for a lot of things in the war with WCW. And you could argue about 98 and 99. That was still them picking up momentum. Again, this is the peak.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This was the peak of the Attitude Era. It was all downhill from there.
All downhill for WCW, that's for sure. But, I had a ton of fun looking at this Attitude Era show. And thank you all who participated in the poll to suggest this show. And we're definitely looking to do some more audience polls for some pay-per-view reviews down the line. Next month, we got a Royal Rumble poll going up on my Twitter. So look out for that one and look out for those options.
I want to talk about my favorite time of the year. The Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view. I cannot wait. We're back in front of an audience. It's going to be great.
It feels like yesterday that we just talked about last year's Royal Rumble where Edge won from number 1. It feels like.
Why do you think I'm already making WrestleMania plans? That's going to be here before we know it.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, we're already making plans to go down to LA for sure. I was thinking of Vegas for Double or Nothing, but in any case though, guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and that thumbs up as well. Look out for future ZNT wrestling show installments. We will be continuing our 2003 retrospective, we've got Vengeance on the docket up next, which is a killer show. We'll also be looking at some AEW shows. Winter is coming. I want to try and look at New Year's Smash. I'm not counting on it, but we'll see what happens with our schedules, my friends. But certainly a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to. Like I said, I will be looking at No Way Home tomorrow night. I can't freaking wait. So expect a review on that and much, much more. Tomas, you're the man. You know that.
You're the man too, man.
Come on. No, it's all good. And expect to see Tomas's face back soon enough. Probably the next one. So
yes, we are ready to go.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Well, with all that being said, guys, commence that back talk, and I'll see you guys in the next one.